Thanks for being here, everybody. Welcome to the July meeting of WordPress Web Help Meetup. My name is Edward Sanchez. My company is Brass Ring Web Design, and I welcome you all here. We're a group that offers mutual aid. You know, we're a group of people who are on various points in our development as WordPress users. We're basically a gathering of folks who are needing help in WordPress and folks who are willing to offer help. We've got some really great folks that are regular members. I hope that you will share this group in our events in social media, especially when we're, like today, we meet on the second Monday of every month at 6 p.m. ish PST. And here we are. So without further ado, and we'll table your issues for a moment, and we'll kind of get to the issues part of our meeting after our introduction. So let me, what I do is I go around. We ask that you, here we go. I'll put it in the chat. We do like 1 minute intros. Doesn't have to be long, but give us a sense of who you are, where you are in the world, what it is you do, why you're here. Also, if you have any ideas for the group, things that you'd like to see from the group or things that you'd like to offer to the group, and maybe your biggest WordPress or business challenge. So I go around in the order that I see you. Went ahead and I put that in the chat if you need a gentle reminder. I go in the order that Zoom puts you on my screen, which means Andrea is up first. So you want to tell us your answer to those things?
Yeah, and I'm not sure I could do those in a minute, but I'll do my best.
That's fine.
I'm
It's an easy room. Just, as long as it's not 20 minutes,
no, I'm in
shoot for a minute.
looks like you're in San Diego. I'm in Oceanside,
Oh, yes,
so we know where that is, North San Diego.
absolutely. Yeah, just 20, 30 minutes up the road.
And I work at home. I have been working at home for 25 years as initially a ghostwriter and copy editor. And 4 years ago, I published my first two books, which became bestsellers. And I decided to become a book coach, which means I help other people write books because I learned everything from scratch. I really went through the ringer, figuring it all out. And so now I work with individuals, usually business people who want to write a book to amplify their uh, status, to share their expertise and stand out from the pack. And I love doing that. And it's all nonfiction. I work with, self-help and how-to and business, spiritual, everything. I also have classes at UCSD. I have a class right now called Building a Business Around Writing. And I love teaching online. You don't have to drive anywhere. Never. And I've had two WordPress sites. My business site, Writer's Way, that's my company, writersway.com. And then when I became an author, I developed my author site, AndreaSusanGlass.com. So I guess that site's 4 years old because I published 4 years ago. Last Wednesday, I published my third book, just came out. And all my books are about writing, how to write your first book, how to write nonfiction, and everything from A to Z. I'm also developing some of my own courses. And since I'm low tech, I have no idea where to start. But I just started using AI. My favorite is Claude. And I was told that Claude could develop my own slides and stuff for a class. So I'm going to look into that eventually. But my WordPress challenges are that I'm low tech, but I can offer any kind of writing assistance. Anybody needs writing or editing of a website. If anybody needs any training on how to take all your content off your website or your content social media or your newsletters or anything and turn them into a book, I've done that many times. So That's my area of expertise.
Wonderful. And I immediately I'm drawn to the idea of perhaps you might be willing to give a presentation to one of our future meetings. We do have a lot of subject effort experts, and the idea we had a course creation specialist a while back. That's another way that people can take their experience, strength, and wisdom, and take it from just in here to perpetuity and income stream. So
Actually, passive income, which is what I'm planning to do eventually with my every book turn into a course, that sort of thing. Yeah.
there you go. There you go. So
I speak all the time. I'm on podcasts, I'm on summits. I have a live class with Carlsbad in a couple of weeks. So I I do a lot of speaking. So I'm happy whenever you need a speaker.
well, I'll be reaching to you outside of the meeting. And again, if you want to put your contact information into the chat, do you have your chat open? You can
Yeah.
put it in there. That way, I and anybody else who's here can reach out to you for that. You know, we've got people here like Mike, who's a subject expert in more areas than he realizes or is willing to admit, um, and and he's not the only one. So thank you for that. With that, we move over to Mark, MC, and take it away, sir.
Hi, my name's Mark, and I have a background in real estate and here in Arizona and property management. And my goals are to get involved with directories and e-commerce with WordPress. And um, and I'm really looking forward to learning more and more from the people here at the group and other groups about WordPress. Thank you.
Great. Where are you in Arizona?
Tucson.
Oh, cool. It's been a while since I've been there. Great little city. And that brings us to the illustrious Mr. Mike Noter up in the great Northwest. Please tell us who you are and all that.
I'm Mike from Spokane. Um, I run WordPress and WooCommerce meetups. I also manage about, I don't know, 10, 12 websites. Um, this is what's the biggest WordPress or business challenges. I don't, my stuff seems to be going pretty well, but I'd say the biggest challenges tends to be with the hosting, email deliverability, security. It's always a changing game. We've got new stuff coming, new plugins and conflicts, and it hasn't been too much for me, but some of the people coming to my meetups really struggle with it. Their sites will break. So that's going to be the biggest challenges. And why am I here? Oh, because I learned so much from you, Ed, and the people that join this meetup. So thanks for hosting as always.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I learn more from you than you do from me, but thanks for saying that. What was I going to say? Complete senior moment. Okay, well, let's move on to Lance. Oh, I was going to ask you, how are the new boxes coming along? That's it. Mike.
The boxes, you mean the computers?
Yeah, the new computers.
Really good, really good.
Yeah.
But this is going to be my backup. For those who don't know, I had a problem with an update and it crashed my sites, and it was like and it took me a month or so. But I ended up getting a refurbished computer with a lot of power, and it's been working great.
For like 5 cents.
And I paid $180 for it, but it was like, but I got
Yikes.
the same model I had before, so it would, because I run 3 monitors and the docking station. I wanted to make sure everything would work. I didn't because both my main computer and my backup went down at the same time, which weird. So no, I'm up and running, and I'll probably get the backup back that I had, and I'm going to buy a new tower with a faster GPU card, lots of RAM. It's going to be
I haven't used a tower in years. What curious, what docking station do you use?
well. I have a guy who was the IT guy for a manufacturing plant. They had
Oh,
350 employees, and he set it all up for me.
He did a custom. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
well, he was a Windows guy, and so he provided me for most of the computers, most of the monitors, the docking stations. He's been a great friend. I've done a lot for him because I also do a lot of business consulting, and I helped him with a pretty sticky matter, and he did really, really well in that deal. So he's felt indebted to me. He's a good friend too. So he provided it. So I'd have to go around the back and take a look at the model. Um, if it's that important to you, a little bit later, I'll walk around and take a look, see if there's some.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's not an emergency, but
I think I have
you
three of
know,
them.
I dock, I have my laptop, which is my main computer now because I got tired of having towers. Because if you ever look inside the tower, it's all air. So laptops, especially, I always buy a 17-inch and then just connect it to my 3 monitors and, various hard drives and what have you.
That's
But
what I
it
do
is,
too. But the reason I'm looking at a tower is I'm going to do a lot of video projects with a lot of rendering, and those
yeah,
towers I can put advanced cooling systems in them.
right. Sure,
You can
sure,
get a
sure,
lot
sure,
of
sure.
power, and it's cheap too if you're buying the refurbished stuff. I'm looking at
Yeah.
just it's not that far from the new stuff that's 3 to 5 thousand, and I'm probably going to spend $500. Now I'm not going to have the GTX 5090 GPU card, but I can get the latest version, the 4090s, which is the top of the line from that 40 series class and I can get 8 16 gig on the RAM itself plus 128 on the CPU. And I'm telling you, I'm right around $700. But I got extra monitors. It doesn't come with a monitor, a keyboard. You got to get the tower, right? But it just depends. If you look at refurbished computers, if yours isn't working, and I've talked to a number of people in the business, and they says, yeah, refurbished is really the go. They recommend factory refurbished.
Always.
Yeah, but I'm
Unless you happen to know somebody who's really on their game with refurbishing, because there's a lot of user refurbished stuff out there that's questionable. Um,
yeah, but you can find reputable people. You can look at the number of sales, the
sure.
comments, the reviews. Like the one I bought this from, I think he had 3,000 previous sales, and I didn't see a negative comment in there at all. And it came right away. It was
Of
clean, just like
course.
he said. Got it when he said it was going to be. Really, I would recommend the guy. I'd have to go back and think who it was, but yeah, it's
Yeah, and that's always the thing. I love that we live in a five-star world, whether you're on Amazon or in WordPress or whatever. If you have your basic vetting skills, you're able to choose well when it comes to products and vendors. I One of the great things that ever happened to me back in the early '90s, and I was primarily making my income as a DJ at the time, which meant I worked on weekends, and I'm not going to say I lived luxuriously, but my wife was a former staffer at one of the main temp companies, and she suggested I go see one of her friends about the job. Anyway, long story short, as I'm testing, and I always used to. There's something weird about me. I used to, as a younger man, I would go do these temp jobs that were blue collar. They were jobs that I would never do, drive a truck or drive a forklift. I learned to always say yes when they ask you a question. You ever driven a Toyota forklift? Oh yeah, I know how to do it. Next thing you know, you're loading, flooring in a warehouse going, God, I hope I don't know. Nowadays with YouTube, we've all seen those videos of, huge shelving units that are falling over, but it never happened to me. Anyway, I ended up going to test for the blue collar version of this and got out to my car and realized, oh man, my wife said to test for white collar stuff, because I typed fast. I had experience in management and office work and stuff, worked at a bank, worked at Merrill Lynch. And so I went back in and she sat me down at the 10 key and the typewriter to do all that mundane stuff. And just then a phone call, and we're talking about 5 o'clock at night, a phone call came in from a company that needed a file clerk for 2 weeks. And I would rather remove my own liver with a rusty spoon than to file for 2 weeks. But, you know, I'm going to say no to this brand new employer. And I said yes, and I went out to be a file clerk, and it was kind of in the wake of the Microsoft lawsuits back in the days of Netscape and all that sort of stuff, the browser wars. And so I ended up redoing their filing system. And long story longer, within a few months, I was the operations manager there, which was quite the change from what I expected. And, you know, we'll talk about it. I mean, that's where my computer education really took off. And one of the main lessons was always, you know, there's always the bleeding edge of technology. And that's where people who, you know, scientists, gamers, even back then, gamers required more oomph than the average bear. Those are the ones who always have to have the latest, greatest. They have to have the brand new 2025 Lamborghini of graphic cards and hard drives and motherboards and all that sort of stuff. That being said, there's always the sweet spot, which is a little further down the road. You know, you buy the stuff that's, you know, maybe been out for a season, possibly two, and you save tons of money. They still have the original warranty, and of course you buy it from a good company, and that's what smart people do, you know, and that's why smart people who shop, well, like Mike, you know, end up getting that $180 computer that kicks ass. Nothing wrong with it. You can't go down to the latest, you know, to the meeting of the, you know, the gamers of San Diego or whatever and brag about it because it's 12 months old. Golly. But smart people buy that old, not old, but that not the latest thing. And
Just a couple of years old is all.
yeah, I mean, my last computer, by doing that, this one, I told you, I bought it ill-advisedly. I didn't check to make sure that it was upgradable enough. And I assumed that what was 16 gigs in RAM would be upgradable, and then found out when I went to upgrade it, nope, that's the limit.
Yeah,
Everything
laptop,
else was great, you know,
there's only so
but
much you can put in a laptop, you know, port
it is.
speed.
But I mean, it's not, you know, that motherboard doesn't have the slots for additional memory, and 16 gigs is the largest that it'll take. So, you know, that's one of many lessons that I needed to learn about how to do these things, which is why I'm always looking for more hardware. You know, I shop for hardware when I need it. The rest of the time, you know, I just keep mine running as lean and mean as possible. So anyway, sorry for talking so long. Let me get to Senor Lance. Good to see you, sir.
Hi, I'm Lance. I'm from Connecticut. I make websites. I'm pretty much here to hang out. My biggest challenge in business right now is there's not enough hours in the day.
Nah, that old thing.
Yep, that's it. That's me. I'm quick.
Well, cool. And again, feel free to put your contact information in the. How do you pronounce your first name, by the way?
Lance?
You just pronounce it Lance. Okay, just making sure.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, feel free to put your contact information in there. And that brings us to Matt Clark. Matt, take it
Hey
away.
Taylor, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How you
No
doing,
video.
Edward?
No,
Good to
no
see
video.
you.
No video tonight.
I am not feeling very video. I don't want to be on camera right now.
Camera. I
It's
feel it.
mostly my apartment that I need to clean, to be honest with
No
you.
wor No worries. I highly
Um,
recommend I highly recommend virtual backgrounds.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. I was thinking about that, but then I have to set the green screen up. It's Monday. I'll be more prepared for next one for sure.
You got it.
Yeah, so my name's Matt Clark. I live in Ocean Beach in San Diego. I am
Oh,
yeah, I am just finishing up a degree in software engineering, and I just started in my WordPress journey relatively like just a few months ago actually, and I'm working for a small business owner right now, and it's just kind of a flying by the seat of my pants kind of situation. So, things will pop up and I'll just have to do some research and, try to figure out how to solve the problem. But it's been a cool learning experience and I aspire to do more client work. So that's kind of what my aim is. And I'm here because Edward and I had a really nice conversation. I think it was like a month ago or something. And he's a very nice guy and this is a cool group and I'm just here to hang out and be social within this ecosystem and meet new people. Um, and I don't have any ideas for the group moving forward, but if something comes to me, I certainly will chime in.
yeah, we're always looking for contributions from folk. Feel free to put your contact information and any other information you want to put in the chat for people to reach out to you. And because collaboration has been, I've gotten more great partners out of these groups than I have actual client. I try not to do too salesy a thing, because the spirit of this group is mutual aid. In marketing, one of the tenets is give them stuff for free until they want to pay for it, and that's certainly my attitude. But hey, so another Oceanside. Well, Andrea is in Oceanside. You're in Ocean Beach. How was the beach? I'm now living in La Mesa, so I'm a little further inland. I was in La Jolla. How was the beach today?
You know, I live 2 blocks from the water. I did not go to the beach yet. I do plan on going for a meditation a little bit later. But
Nice.
in general, it's been super nice. We've been blessed with some good weather. It's a little cloudy past couple days, but it hasn't been too hot, thankfully. I have relatives on the East Coast, and they've had some pretty hot summers, so pretty grateful to have the San Diego weather.
Yeah, it's pretty clear out here. Is it overcast out there?
Today it is, yeah. Yeah.
Still? Okay. For those of you who've never been to San Diego, our weather, the weathermen, I think they just Xerox their reports from day to day, because it's whether it's June, we have June gloom, or any other month of the year, it's usually overcast in the morning, beautiful in the afternoon, and with very little variance, which makes all this weather that we're watching on the news kind of distressing. So, all right, I think we covered everybody, and which means, and he just turned off his camera, but I'm hoping I can look to Mr. Mike Noter to take us into WordPress news. And let me see, let me make sure everybody can share their screen. You all can,
All
starting
right.
with Mike.
This is last week's news, but I mean, Lance has seen it already. I'll put the link in the chat. And let's see if we can find this here.
I learned by repetition, so
So you should be able to see the screen.
yes, sir.
All
Oh
right, so
yeah,
this is,
your garden image. Yeah, I remember
yeah, well,
this.
that's the particular blog. I just want to point out a couple of things. It's Advanced Digital Collective was a website that just supports these meetups. And so over here on the right, I've got a list of meetups for those of you that are interested in WordPress. And all of these groups, or most of these are online. Lance and I go to a lot of them. They're not all, mileage varies, but if you're looking for free help and to meet people, there's a list here, and I'll point out a couple of the better ones in a little bit here. but over here is the blog. So each week what I do is I post all the links to the stuff I'm going to be talking about rather than keep putting in the chat. So if you ever there's one topic, one subject, one meetup you want to know about, you can just go to the blog and the links will be there. And so for last Wednesday, and I'll have new news coming up here.
I will point out that Mike has put together quite a collection of creative ways of displaying the three letters WOO using AI. I'm always interested to see what he's done this week. So
Yeah, all of these, this wasn't an AI generated, but all of these are AI generated.
yeah,
Going
you're
back.
getting quite a collection there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start thinking about indexing it a little bit, but some of the news is old, and it's time marches on, technology marches on. But the main thing is that if somebody needed to find a link, because I've got a bunch of links here, these are all hot links. Everyone's you can link right to it and go to it if there's a particular subject, topic, or something. But what I always do for the people, because most of you haven't been here, seen this before, is these first two events, this Eric L. and this Eagle. Eagle runs the San Jose, Santa Cruz WordPress twice a month. Eric runs his own meetups, but they also have a whole bunch of information to sites, especially Eagle. He's got a support desk. You can go there and just search for any topic, DNS, email, web hostings, a bunch of information. But he also runs this support community. And it's something he's been doing about 6 months. And with your email, you get into the group, and they have all these topics, and you can comment. And so if you have a real-time problem and you don't want to wait for a meetup, you can always jump on that community and ask that question. There's probably someone around that's going to be able to help you.
And of course, they are free. So
Yeah, they're pretty free. And so all these are the meetups from last week. Most of them passed. This one here this morning, I missed it, but this is Cambridge, England. A couple guys do a pretty good job. This WordPress Web Help, that's a good guy named Ed. He runs that. And then tomorrow, this is Hartford, Connecticut, a WordPress meetup, and they do what's called summer school sessions, and their second one's going to be tomorrow. And they're pretty knowledgeable. They're big Cadence users for the themes, but they do a pretty nice job. For WooCommerce, the current installation is 9.9.5. We were supposed to have a new version coming out at 10.0. It's been pushed back. I think it's coming out. Oh, maybe it did come out today. I didn't go look. But that'll all be in the news, the new release, and some of the comments on that will be in this week's news coming up. A year of accessibility and improvements in WordPress core. Now, if you do online, you use WordPress, and you've installed it, you'll probably need to go to the WooCommerce website occasionally. And they have two blogs. One is the developer blog, and that's for people that are building plugins and themes and applications to help WooCommerce run faster. And then they have a general Woo blog, which is for how do you convert sales, how do you run news lists. So there's two different blogs. But anyway, these articles are coming from these two blogs, these initial ones. Now, this year in accessibility has been a big deal. And you're in California. California's had a big issue about accessibility. And I do want to point out, is it Andrea? I looked at her site when I saw the link. She doesn't have a privacy policy, which is kind of a big deal in California. They'll fine you. I didn't think your accessibility looked too bad. I didn't run a check on it or anything. But California is suing these little websites. I think it's ridiculous, but we can talk about that later. But anyway, WooCommerce has this article talking about what they've been doing to improve the accessibility of WordPress core.
by the way, Mike, that's our new state motto. Ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
They just need to change the flag.
Washington's number 2, and we're trying harder, right? So anyway, if you didn't know about accessibility, it's basically your site needs to be readable for people that can't see very well or they're hearing impaired. And the state, so if someone builds a website 10 years ago, the state will decide, well, that's not good enough, and we're going to fine you, or they're going to sue you, and they do. And people some of the horror stories are losing thousands, tens of thousands of dollars because they're getting sued because their site, somebody who can't see can't buy an airplane on the website. It's crazy, but that's the stuff that's been going on. But I don't need to tell you about California. I don't need to tell people living in California about California. Okay, so the cart and checkout block, they have some new features coming in that. That's if you're running an e-commerce website and you're transacting sales of any kind of sort, how they transition to the checkout page, and how their cart runs. They're doing some stuff to increase the functionality and the usability. These articles are really geared to people that code, or they're really working in the back end. There's a front end, which is the design and the posting content and that, and then there's the back end, which is the functionality, and that's a lot of HTML, a lot of PHP. There's a lot of code in there. So it's really for the more advanced people. WooCommerce pricing, how much does it cost to run the store? This is a pretty good article if you're thinking about running a e-commerce website. They're sort of all over the place, and they sort of self-promote themselves in these articles a little bit, but they do talk about all the things you didn't think about. Some of the security plugins, some of the hosting features, how do your analytics work, right? What's your conversions? All these things that'll happen when you're running a store, what it costs to do that. So if you're ever interested in, especially if you're just starting out, if you're thinking about doing an online e-commerce store, this article, whether you use WooCommerce or not, is something you should consider, because there's a lot of things people won't think about if they're just starting out. Phoenix launches a WooCommerce plugin to simplify an e-commerce payments for millions. I shared that for the WooCommerce group because payment gateways is a big deal. Whether you're using Stripe or you're using PayPal or you're using Square, there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of new ones coming out. This is kind of a press release. It had just come out that day. So I really shared it for the WooCommerce experts. And then in a few weeks, we'll find out if we like this or not, because they're saying it's going to be faster, it's going to be cheaper, and it's going to be all these things. But then people say a lot. Who knows if it's true? So I wouldn't take this press release being all that. We don't know yet. But the article's there because the people that are using Woo all the time, and we're always looking at ways to transact cheaper, faster, quicker. That article could be helpful to those people.
Hey, Edward from Brass Ring Web Design, popping in for a sec to tell you how we can help your DIY website project by making your website effective, not just pretty. At Brass Ring, we take a big picture approach to digital marketing, building a strong foundation that drives long-term growth. We use our hub and spoke traffic model. Yes, of course, we design high-performing WordPress websites that serve as your central marketing hub. We also coordinate traffic to it from key platforms like email marketing, SEO, social media, and ads. We align every aspect of your digital presence for lasting success. More than just ad managers, we're your partner, optimizing the entire customer journey to better use your time and marketing investment and deliver lasting value. Training and coaching you along the way means you continue to save DIY money and retain control. And now, back to our meeting.
Also, this on a side note, a lot of people are doing the crypto transactions now, and a lot of people, they don't want to mess with this black arts or whatever. But a Bitcoin went over 120,000 today, and more people, they want to transact with these crypto tokens and assets, and so you're leaving money on the table if somebody comes to your site and they want to, if you want to be all that to your customers, it's giving them the option, because it's pretty efficient. And I think in the future, it's all going to be that way. They're not going to be paying PayPal and Visa. They're going to have workarounds. Okay, for those of you that are interested in the WordPress community, they typically have they have these WordCamps around the country, but there's the WordCamp USA, and it's in Portland. And it's coming up just in a couple months or something. It's going to be August 26th, 29th. Now, 4 or 5 people from Portland WordPress Meetup. 2 or 3 of them are really advanced. So it's always nice to see those guys. So if you got a little time, go out, hang out, meet other WordPress people. And then the founder of Automatic and WordPress.com and WooCommerce itself, he usually gives a presentation. There's a lot of drama going on around him and a hosting company, but I won't get into that right now.
It's a great deal too. It's only $100 for registration for the whole event.
Yeah,
the whole 3 or 4 days.
They have events. And
yeah.
It's pretty enjoyable for those that can make it.
You still have to fly yourself there and get a hotel, but $100 for a multi-day event of the nature of. We'll probably have another presentation this year. Sorry for busting in. Brendan O'Connell, one of our regulars, attended last year and was nice enough to give us a presentation, but it's more than worth the money that's spent on hotel and flight, and $100 for registration for a 4-day event is is ridiculous. So anyway, go on. Sorry, Mike.
No, it's all right. It's like, so anyway, I was talking about this controversy with this Matt Mullenweg and Automatic. So anyway, there's an article coming from The Verge, and he's talking about, for those of you in space, that at the last USA Word Camp, the Matt Mullenweg went off on this company and called them a cancer, and it led to lawsuits now, and they're spending millions of dollars fighting, and they're getting court rulings and all that. Anyway, this interview talks about what Matt Mullenweg's vision for WordPress in the future, some of the products they're doing. He's buying up a bunch of stuff, texting stuff, and and if you're in the WordPress space, a lot of people follow this story, and it's a fairly current interview. Some of us are kind of getting sick of the drama, wish they'd settle the court and move on and develop the product and improve it. But anyway, for those that are interested in it, it was a current article. And then every week I always have some kind of free resources. A lot of times it'll be image editing, or it'll be some kind of plugin, or it'll be a calendar, or it'll be whatever. But this week I went a little bit deeper, and I got this from another guy that comes in our group, Steve Kinsey. He sent me that last week. Some of you may have gotten it. But anyway, this is for people that develop. This is free resources for coding tools, and there's a lot of them in here. And there's a lot of design stuff. There's a lot of these stuff is free that can really enhance and save you a lot of time. I don't know how much AI is in here in this list because I'm not really a coder. But this week I put the link in there for those that are interested in it, because there's a lot of tools in there, a lot of free tools if that's your business, if you're going to be a coder. And that's the news. It's a little slower in the summertime. People start heading to the lake, or in your case, the beach, or ocean, or whatever. It'll pick up again in the fall, but there you have it. That was the news from last Wednesday, so most of this is old now. Oh, I will add one more item. If you're using Gravity Forms, which is a kind of a Cadillac of contact form, it's really well known. They got a big security issue. And so if you're using it, you make sure you update to the current version. Eagle, who runs that community resource, he sent an email out, I think it was yesterday or something. But there's some kind of malware got into one of their contact forms. So you don't want to be running those old the old plugin. You want to be on the current one. And that's the thing. If you're just starting out with WordPress and you're just starting out with learning e-commerce or just a regular website, keeping your themes and plugins updated, because most of the updates are security patches. The major ones, like there'll be a major version release where they're adding new features, that's a little different. We don't really recommend updating those right away. You usually give that a week or so the bugs get worked out. But if it's a 0.1, 0.1, 0.3, those are almost always patching vulnerabilities. So going a year or two without updating those plugins and themes, that brings risk. So just be aware of that. So, okay, anybody want to add anything or follow up with any kind of questions?
Any
Mike,
questions for Mike?
I had a question. That when you were talking about there's $1,000 fine for people in California. Now,
Go ahead.
if they have a website that's based out of California, or if it's a website, say somebody in Texas had a site, would they get fined by the California government?
Well, some of this is being decided by law, but New York and California sort of lead the way in this and with the litigation. Now, other people say, well, if I don't sell in California, if I'm in Utah or New Mexico or whatever, it shouldn't apply to me. But the California people say it doesn't matter. Anybody accessing a California website is liable, they say. Now, they could sue you. I don't know if they will. I mean, most of this is generated by the lawyers, because when they put into law, the lawyers are using these accessibility tools, and I'll find one, a popular one. What they're doing is they're scanning the sites, and they get a negative rating. They're getting a lawsuit filed against them. Right?
What I'm getting at though is jurisdiction.
Well, but here's the thing. Let's just say you get sued in California, you don't show up, and you get a default summary, a judgment against you.
But what I'm asking is, let's say somebody's selling horse saddles in Texas.
Yeah.
And they have a website, and then they sell to somebody in California. Are they going to get? Are the people in Texas going to be sued for this?
Yes, and that's what I was trying to explain, is that there's two camps. Some people say no, they don't have jurisdictions. Others in California say no, we have jurisdiction. If you sell something in California, we can sue you. I don't,
So,
a lot of this is getting sorted out in the courts still.
But again, this is not about individual transactions. It's about the state of the website itself.
Yeah.
And I mean, remember, there's this is file this under the category of do you feel lucky punk? Um, we always have that fact that litigation always falls far behind legislation. So the fact that something is a law, especially in California, where we are make so many crazy laws at a feverish pace, the question is, will you find yourself in the sites? But it's kind of like, and we're here by the ocean, it's kind of like going swimming in the Pacific Ocean. Most of the time you're okay. But that one time, there could be that great white swimming along. And the great whites, to further that metaphor, are attorneys who are, we see special interest or civil, what do they call it? Class action suits all the time. Nowadays, all it takes is a bot going around searching for certain characteristics. It's like people who hack websites, to look for vulnerabilities or looking for that, that username of admin or that sort of thing. People can set their bots to look for certain characteristics, or it can simply be a matter of putting an intern to work, punching URLs into a compliance tool and feeding the names of those who are not compliant to an attorney, and they can make decisions based on how deep the pocket is. We had somebody talking to us about compliance. I was at a meetup on compliance, and I did ask, questions like, how small of a business have we seen? Do you have to be a big fish to attract the attention of a predatory legal firm? Because let's face it, somebody could literally come out of law school and just decide, you know what, I'm going to make my bones on this particular thing. I'm going to go after people who are ADA non-compliant or WCAG non-compliant. And, I guess what I'm saying is there's no way for sure to tell. The first time this really came on I always thought I was pretty good because I try to be SEO best practices when I build a website, which means you tag things, you think in terms of, if somebody is reading this page on some sort of reader for the site challenged, or if I've taken classes on usability and typography and things like that, which does cover issues like contrast. Mike brought up contrast earlier. A website that's light type on a light background is going to be extremely hard to read, especially as we have right now, our wealthiest demographic is the senior demographic. So that is definitely a demographic you want to market to. So you better make sure that your material is not invisible to them. And you better make sure that one of them isn't feeling litigious if they come across your website and are frustrated by the way you present information. So it's a tough one, but it's something that website owners and especially website developers, since our illustrious Gavin Newsom has made it, he signed a law where now And I'm still not clear exactly in this, but my understanding was it was a fairly recent development that now they can come after the web developer, whereas in the past it was about coming after the
They
owner
were
of the website.
proposing that. I don't know that it actually became law in California.
I
But
thought
anyway,
it had been. I could have sworn I posted
oh, they
a.
were trying to. They were trying to make the web. So somebody builds a website, and 5 years later, it's like not. But I'm not sure. You'd have to.
But you know that Gavin would sign it if it showed up on his desk,
Yeah,
because
California. I don't know.
he's
It's hard for me
he
to live there. I mean,
he's not quite at AutoPen, but he's his knee jerks are certainly in those directions. So
let me go
by
back to Mark's question here real quick, like,
go for
and
it.
just so you know that the state and some of these lawsuits, they've been losing a lot of them lately. New York one, they wanted to make it part of the ADA, the disadvantage. They said, well, that doesn't count, and they got a major ruling in I think a district or circuit court over there. Uh, and whether it's going to be national law, officially in the last administration, they said, yeah, it was legitimate. You're discriminating. You build a website and somebody can't read it the way they need to, you're discriminating. Well, the courts are starting to say, well, that's not necessarily true. And so there's a little bit of hope there. There's also one in California where they want to, if they do, they can't sue you right away. They have to give you like 6 months to fix it, the problem. You can't just outright. But that was in the Senate. I don't think it hasn't been passed yet. Then the other thing I want to point out is there's a difference between privacy policy and accessibility. And the privacy policy is pretty easy. You just have to disclose on your site. If you're collecting emails, you have to say, I collect emails. If you're doing affiliate marketing on there, you got to kind of say that. But there's free plugins, like one of them that I recommend you use is WP Auto Terms. But if you have a big site, you probably would use Termageddon. It's like $100 a year, and they keep you up on all that. So you can get your privacy policy handled pretty easily. On the accessibility stuff, those laws, those standards are changing a little bit harder because it has to do with the readability of the font. It has a little bit, there's a lot more into it. And I will find a website for you. I think it's there's a Southern California.
We did lose Andrea, by the way.
Yeah, Amber Hines is a big one. Summer Davenport, Alicia runs a meetup. They're really big on the accessibility. I don't take it quite as serious because I don't think you're a criminal because you built a website and you didn't do it good enough for the government, right?
Well,
Especially when I see. Go ahead.
in theory, with the AI readers and the other type of readers, a person could scroll over the website and have the website read to them if they're not able to see, from my understanding. I mean, and
Yes,
if
but some of those overlays and some of those readers are not adequate and they're losing lawsuits because they use the wrong readers. But I'm like you. It's like there's more resources and tools available to assist the handicapped than any time in recorded history.
yeah,
And
and
what they're doing, they're over technicalities. Like the big one that got this started is Domino's Pizza. Some blind person couldn't order a pizza from their website, and they ended up losing $1 million or so in the lawsuit. And from then on, the floodgates opened up, and all these little trolling law firms, man. But let me give you this WP Auto Terms. You can find it in the repository, which is the WordPress.org. It's free. I'll put the link in there.
all right, thank you. I appreciate
That's for privacy policy. And then I'm trying to think, what's the Amber Hines website that will analyze your site? Lance, you remember that? The Wave? I'll find it in a minute.
Wave will do it.
What's that?
Wave will do it.
Wave.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Thank you. No, I'm not finding that. There it is. Yeah, it's web evaluation tool. Okay, this link here, if you put your URL in there, it'll scan it, it'll look at it, and they'll give you the rundown what they think about your accessibility. There's also other tools that will help you analyze your site and give you recommendations. I have a problem if somebody's been using a particular logo for 25 years, and suddenly they can't read the logo because they used it just isn't fair to me. I just don't. To me, it's not fair. But I don't make
So,
California
on that, On that note, do you recommend trying to, like, if it's a new brand, do you recommend trying to stick with some kind of logo that's sans serif and just like easy to read?
Yeah, there's a Gutenberg font in the Google Fonts, and I shared that about 3 weeks ago. And it's designed to make the fonts highly readable, better than other ones. They had a bunch of reasons. So yes, you look at a font that's readable, and then you check it with an outfit like this to see if it passes muster. But yes, and your color schemes, they want it to be very pronounced. Now, if you're a fine artist, right? If you're like doing Matisse's or you're doing, and that's your logo, well, that granularity is your product, your brand. But they want it readable, man. They're gonna. What I have a problem with is that they're judging you on intent when they have no way. There's no way you meant to. I mean, who's trying to sell anything is trying to discriminate against anything? You never even see them. But no, they've
Yeah, so
decided that. Go ahead.
that Gutenberg font is just literally a font on the Google store.
Yes,
Was it?
if you go to Google Fonts, and I'll have to look back, I can't remember which week it was. I'll find it in a minute here. Oh, I got it in my general notes. Um, but the thing is, now I don't know how much you know about WordPress, but if you're going to use those, don't load them from there. You got to load them locally.
Okay.
And the reason why is because if you load them from the Google website instead of putting it on your own website, they're able to go in. Hackers can go in there and identify you. It became a big thing in Europe at first, about 3 years ago. So you want to use local fonts on your website. A lot of people would just use Google Fonts and then they would load automatically from Google.
Do you
I
guys
think
recommend
we're
local
talking
flywheel
about
as
we're
the
talking about Atkinson Hyperlegible Next.
You have that? Throw
I
that. Yeah,
do.
remember how we were talking about
Those,
that a couple weeks ago?
yeah, that was May 14th.
Yeah,
Woo
go ahead and
Wednesday.
throw that link in there for him.
I will absolutely do that.
The design thing is really subjective, in my opinion. Now, you're trying to do a brand, and there's ways you do it. California law is a little bit different. I don't know how. Yeah,
I feel you, man. I
I
feel
can't
you.
solve that problem for you.
All right, I
Yeah.
got a question. I'm gonna throw it. When it comes to branding, there's no limitations on what your brand can be. So if you want to make something that is as illegible as humanly possible, you absolutely there's no law that I'm aware of, and I kind of pay attention to this, that prohibits you from doing that. Now, if you put it on a website, the logo itself still could be absolute crap,
Well,
but
I
the
would say
website itself has to be legible.
Okay.
that's the
And
law. That's the
communication.
law of the jungle. If you're supporting graphics, your branding, I mean, which is key, are that bad, you're essentially shooting yourself in the foot. I think I would rather shoot myself literally in the foot
Well, there's a
than.
difference between bad judgment and illegal,
Yeah,
and
he's
that's
not
why I
Oh,
was
doing
gonna.
it.
understood,
Yeah.
understood.
He's not
But a
doing it
lot
as
of
part of the
times you
implementation.
can take care of both. For I don't know if you guys know about Logo Lounge. Anybody ever heard of Logo Lounge?
Okay.
No.
Is that the one that has all the logos on it? I mean, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's a good place to they track logo trends. You can go there and they do an annual report. They do, I tend to just download the report every year and take a brief look to see where logo design is. And logo design, especially, over I forget how many years it's now been where mobile visits have exceeded desktop visits on the internet. But something that I've done for years and years is always to view a logo at different resolutions and at different distance. And I'll put a logo that I'm working on. I don't tend to work on logos that often anymore because there's great AI stuff, and quite frankly, I've got better things to do with my time. But you can't assume that every logo is going to be pasted on the side of a bus or a billboard at large
All right.
size. You want some.
There are generic rules for logos. Okay. The first rule of logos is it should be visible clearly in a 1 inch by 1 inch square. Okay.
Yeah, well,
So
I would
overly
say,
complicated, super fancy logos don't work because they're too small. And what you'll do is you'll see people that'll make annotated or not annotated, like smaller versions of their logos, like less detailed ones. So they'll like maybe just show like one small piece of it if they have to go that small. Should also be good in only one color, black and white, no grays, black and white. If it doesn't work as a black and white drawing, it does not work as a logo.
well,
So
that's
things
where we
like
get into high
gradients,
contrast. You know, if you are using those gradients, those grays, and something, you know, I mean, and this still makes sense because a lot of, especially small businesses, there may be a time where you will benefit from actually going to Kinko's and paying 14 cents for a flyer or you know, an actual Xerox copy. You know, I mean, color copies are still 60, 70 cents a piece. You know, so you can get a stack of flyers, and if your logo
that becomes
disappears,
small. I mean that the cost of printing color is small compared to the cost of printing signage, especially if you're doing something
it's
that
still
has
500. It's still 500% what it would be if you. I'm supporting what you said. You know, you
right.
said
It should
don't
work
stay
in
away
one
from the.
color and one color only. Look at every major logo out there. Pick one. Apple. You make the apple black, it works. Starbucks. You take the green, replace it with black, the rest is white, it works.
Yeah.
You start doing stuff where people start taking like photos and gradients no longer work. And even back before everybody went to flat design, maybe about like 7 or 8 years ago, when they were doing gradients, there was always an alternative of a flat black and white. So if you're going to do logos, black and white, pick your colors later. It should work as one. It can have multiple colors, but it has to work as one color once.
When you say 1 inch by 1 inch square, you're referring to like the pixel count on the screen?
No, I'm referring to it. If you made your logo the size of a postage stamp, would you still be able to make out what it is?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Well, the best example of that is, can you put it on a business card? Because that's you know where your logo would most likely appear at an inch. Because of course, even smartphones are larger than that. Most software, most social media platforms, they now give you, I mean, be it Photoshop or whatever, everything gives you the ability. WordPress has been doing it for quite some time, where it will automatically feed you different resolutions. You know, this is what it looks like on an iPhone 6. This is what it looks like on an iPhone. What are iPhones up to, 18 or something?
16,
Yeah,
16.
16. So that makes it easier, but you still need to be able to bring it down to a small size. Because most of us, I mean, yeah, there's digital tap and go, but business cards and stuff, I'm not a huge fan of those. Because as a graphic artist and photographer at heart, I don't want pixels and I'm sorry, electrons to take over too much. But yeah, Mark's right. You should have it. I don't know about the inch thing. That's getting about, you know, for most people that's pretty small. But I've seen logos where,
I don't seriously. How is that small? I mean, when I look at I'm looking at your shirt. Your shirt is like, I can see the brass ring horse. That's less than an inch on my screen. I can make out that it's a horse.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to confuse it with a pine tree.
right. No,
There,
absolutely.
there's
And
there's 10 different logo makers on the Google store and the other app stores. So yeah, there's a lot of resources to make apps for logos.
Also, be careful. A lot of places will just recycle clip art, especially when you start getting into like the Fiverr groups and was it the 99? What's 99? What's that?
99 designs.
well,
I've seen a
that's
lot of
always
stuff where
been the
they'll,
case. You know, if you go to a business card printer for years, they're going to use clip art, and that's you know.
I mean, it's okay if you're like a plumber and you're going to get a wrench, or if you're a lawyer and you're going to do scales. But if you're going to do like a real branding project, you want something that's a little bit more original.
Yeah, I mean, if you are willing to or capable of hiring somebody who actually has illustration skills, I'm going to be the last person to tell you that that's not that you're not going to get a superior, you know, unless the good person really sucks, because not every professional is good. But unfortunately, clip art is a fact of life. I would say that one of the, you know, in doing logo design, one of your steps ought to be to do some Google searching for other plumbers. I'll absolutely make sure in your market you're not using similar logos, but I'll oftentimes look for, you know, like web development in Florida or in Maine or something like that, where it's a completely non-competitive market. See how they're depicting themselves and get ideas. And if you see the same clip art over and over, I would say stay away from that particular one. But especially now with AI, you've got less chance of getting stuck in
I
the
was
morass.
curious when it comes to hosting. How do you guys feel about hosting? Right, I've heard good things about it, and I've heard, you know, other things. But is Hostinger, do you guys think, is a good foundation for hosting a site? Hostinger?
What's your budget? Hey, before we do that, I want to go back to Lance's original point, which was really wasn't a logo design issue. It was about the legality. And I hope you're right that whether your logo's legible or not, you should be able to put it on the website. I kind of agree with you. But with the courts and black letter law, who knows what they'll do, right? But I appreciate your comment because I don't know when it comes to logos
All right,
what the standard is for accessibility.
go back up, Ed. Go back up. There's a buffalo on that page. It sucks. There you go. See that second one there? I think
Well,
that's a
remember the admonition that I got many years ago when I was a photographer. Beauty is in the eye of the checkbook holder. And I'm really careful with calling things ugly because on some level, especially if you're dealing directly with the business owner, you might as well walk up at a kid's park and tell a lady that her baby's really fucking ugly. Pardon the French. You know,
normally I keep
that's
that
the
to
thing. I
myself.
mean, I agree with you. That to me would not be the way I would want a buffalo depicted.
That is
But
too busy. That is too busy for a decent logo. But
yeah,
there is
those
no
are
law
really
against
fine.
having a bad logo. You just can't have a document surrounding that logo be non-accessible. The kinetic trails. The kinetic isn't really a legible. I mean, we can read it, but it's not an easy to read font.
Well, see, I would
Also,
have more
not illegal.
objection with the fact that if I look at that buffalo logo, I have no idea what the company is about.
Yeah,
You
but that's a
know,
bad choice. I'm going about the legality of it, or the fact that it's such a bad design that it's hard to read. The Elizabeth Henry is too small for it's too detailed for a logo for something that size.
and I doubt. Here's the thing, and we're back to the whole. You know, I mean, we could argue about this all day long, but at the end of the day, it's a matter of, you know, who is it who objects and why is it they object. You're probably not going to be able to stand in front of an attorney, I'm sorry, in front of a judge and say, you know, this website is great except for this really ugly buffalo. So I want to sue this company for $500,000.
Yeah, that's where I agree with
That's
that. I think that's what it is. The logo itself does not have to be.
yeah, if that's the
It's not
worst you've
attackable.
got. But I mean, if this website is on a site that does test well for compliance, you know, you know, if people with readers, if people with failing eyes, which I certainly am, are able to still access the meat of the information, an ugly buffalo will probably get past. But it's going to be a hierarchy of needs, you know, in terms
Can
of
I chime in real quick with the question, guys? And I know this is super serious, but I'm just thinking entrepreneurially and also the fact that I'm trying to think of, okay, what kind of services could I offer to a potential business owner? at this point in my journey in WordPress. Do you think maybe making a site more accessible, maybe trying to do some of these improvements for some site owners in California might be a viable like side hustle for someone like me who's kind of new to WordPress, or is that more an advanced WordPress admin's kind of role?
I would think it'd be viable. I think you could also offer site analysis, you know,
Okay.
where you review a site, test your site for. Now, there's people out there that are doing a really good job and become really well known. Uh, what's it called? Equitable Digital. What's their name? It's the Amber
Amber
Hines group.
Hines.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah, she's really big on that.
yeah they're really big, and they're they're running agencies doing just that. But I would think accessibility and privacy policies would be part of the basic WordPress offerings anymore in this day and age. And it's not that hard to comply, and it's a lot easier to comply when you're just building one than going back and trying to fix an old one. But
So that's a good selling point to like maybe try to get a job. I'm sorry, like try to win a bid in a proposal or something, saying that like, I'll build it from the ground up with the accessibility and privacy compliance in mind.
yeah, SEO,
Yeah.
site performance, security, all of those, get a long list. And if you look at, I'm sure you can find plenty of articles about all things you need to know for a website. And you should easily get to 30 items that could be part of your value proposition, right? And you don't have to do it all yourself, right? You can do the things you're really good at, and then you partner with somebody and white label their services. So you give, you want to give a competent offering, right? Well, none of us know everything.
Wait,
So
I thought
what
you
are the
did.
what are the top four hosting things that you guys would recommend?
Well,
Hosting.
here's a thing before you get into that. This hostings comes up a lot. Now, Hostingers is one of the cheapest, right? And so, depending on what you're doing with the site, you might be able to get away with it. But if you're doing any kind of e-commerce, if you need any kind of support, because there's a company out there that rolls up all these little web hosting services, and they sort of don't really give them a whole lot of support, but they do a lot of marketing. So if you go out there, pretty anyone will be on somebody's top 10 list, and you'll find Hostinger in there. But the better hosting is going to come in $20, $30 a month rather than $3 a month. Like, so, because
And what
go
do you
ahead.
guys suggest for that type?
Well, right now, I don't use it, but most of the advanced developers are saying Rocket.net. Um, it's not cheap compared to some of these other ones. I don't use it. I use SiteGround, and I've got, I think, 10 sites on there. Some people use Cloudways. You know, it all depends on really more about what you're doing with the website. Now, if it's just a site and you're not doing any e-commerce and you don't have to worry about a lot of this other stuff, these cheaper sites will probably work. But you've got some things to think about here, because when you're on the cheap hosting, you're using shared hosting, which means there could be 1,000 other ones on there. And if they're sending out a whole lot of spam, pretty soon your stuff won't go, or you'll get warnings on your website. Or they may not give an SSO certificate, or you won't get support, or they won't do backup, or they won't do free staging, right? When you're trying to update your site, you want to be able to stage it, make sure before you push it live. Not everybody offers those sort of things, right? And they probably aren't on these cheaper ones, right? And you have very little bandwidth, memory. They'll shrink you down about how much memory you have, and then pretty soon you're going over, and then they want to upsell you for more memory. Those are the kind of things that you run into with running with cheap hosting. But if you're running, like, say, a neighborhood landscaping business, and you just want a place they can find you, and you're only going to get 50 or 100 hits a month, you probably can go a lot cheaper. But sometimes it may not load for 8, 9 seconds, and people will bounce when that happens.
And that's the thing. Not only will they bounce, but the bots will, you're going to suffer SEO rankings, which means any hopes of getting organic results are out the window. I mean, let's face it. We all know that using the cheapest as your paradigm for choice is you're never going to get anything but the cheapest. And the likelihood that they're going to get better is probably not high. Chances are the cheapest you're going to have to, at some point in time, you're going to outgrow it, which means you will then face the kind of the Mr. Goodwrench thing, pay me now or pay me later. If you have to, now I find WordPress is very migratable, which is one of the great things about it. But still, migrating a website and all the DNS, and especially if you've gone and registered the URL at the host, that needs to be dealt with. Because I'm not a big fan of having, my registrations over here, my hosting over there, and I like the idea of put your eggs in one basket, but pick a good basket and take care of it.
So Rocket.net, SiteGround, and what are two or three other good hosting?
Cloudways is another one. Now, just so you understand, there's the advanced developers don't. A lot of them are critical of SiteGround for various reasons, and they're critical of Cloudways for reasons. But they're in that spot where you can come in around $20-$30 a month, maybe even a little less or a little bit more. But most of them think if you're using quality hosting, you should be paying at least 50. And if you're starting to do a lot of transactions, getting a lot of traffic, you probably want to be pushing closer to $100 a month, which is cheaper than building a store. But
the $50 and $100 a month hosting, what sites have good
Green Geeks was pretty good
customer
there for a
service, et
while, but
cetera,
they've
et
been
cetera?
having a lot of issues. I don't know on that low end. There's going to be a meetup on, is it this Thursday? Yeah, Eagles, a San Jose, Santa Cruz one. They provide hosting services for their clients. There'll be 3 or 4 people that they run their own hosting, and they're very knowledgeable on the hosting, and they can give you a better rundown about, most of it's going to be why you shouldn't use the really cheap stuff. Security, spam, just you'll get hacked. It's just there's a lot of problems with this cheap hosting that I can't go over it all. And for me to
And
tell you,
forget about tech support.
yeah, that's probably out the window too for the most part. But the point is that for me, I'm not qualified to tell you which is the best at $10 a month. That's just the bottom line.
Dumb
Right,
question. What kind of site are you making?
directory sites are what I'm working on.
Directory, just like lists and lists of sites?
List and lists of people, products, etc.
Yeah, he's probably
What
going to need a little bit better. I
Yeah,
remember
it's going to need a little more horsepower.
yeah, here last month, right, or a month or so ago.
right, right.
Yeah, and he's looking to go pretty big nationally with a lot of different. So the whole decision tree thing, going through all that, you probably need a little bit more than the cheapest for sure. Well, I suspect.
Right,
I
right.
agree with Mike.
So what would be 3 things I would look at for customer service and best results, and
Well, the memory they
something
give
that
you,
check all the boxes?
the capacity that you have, because if you're going to have a whole lot of, and people are going to do a whole bunch of searches on your website, that's going to go back to the hosting company, and you're going to use up all your memory right away. So you're probably going to now when you first start out, you're not going to have 10,000 links. That's what you're doing. I can't remember the service or product, but you were going to feature all these people in this
So
particular niche across the country, weren't you?
yeah, say I had 100,000, just to ballpark it, 50 to 100,000. What
Time
would be um, what would be the best hosting you think for that you guys have heard of that is good?
well, maybe Lance. I don't know. I would probably, if it's a serious business and you expect it to grow, I'd probably use Eagle or Eric, and I'd have them run grid pane for you. And if you're going to self-host yourself, I'd probably use something like Kinsta. WP Engine, there's a big drama about them these days, and they've got their issues because venture capital took a big position. SiteGround would probably work for a little while, but you're running 100,000 every time it's got to run those searches. It's got to go back to the hosting company, and then you're going to have performance issues in a hurry. And you're using shared hosts, so you're going to have benefit from other people consuming those resources that you're sharing. So if you can get to dedicated hosting, It'd probably be about $100 a month is probably where you would be. Now, I don't know that you need that to start out with. You can build your site, run it for you grow, and then when you see performance, then migrate it. You could do that. But yeah, I
I
don't know.
see.
Cloudways has some good. They let you pick your servers, and there's some things they do, but they've gone up. The problem with hosting, it always goes up and down. The ones that were the best 3 years ago, they got issues. Some of the worst ones, they're out of business, right? Yeah, it's an open. But if you come to the Eagles meetup, it's a San Jose Santa Cruz meetup, which is going to be Thursday at 6 o'clock. There's 4 or 5 people that actually they run hosting businesses, and
I
they're
see.
probably, yeah. Don't you agree, Lance? They'd be better ones to be.
They would be able to get him exactly what he needs.
Yeah.
And then when you say Thursday, that's not listed here on
No, that because that's last week's. This week's is Thursday. It'll come out on Wednesday. But I've got the link here. So hold on a minute.
Yeah, so you're in a tough. Well, you're kind of not in a tough spot, but like if you were just like, hey, I'm I'm like a small restaurant, like a sandwich shop. I would say that a lot of people will try to get you to overkill your hosting. But you're talking about these numbers. You really can't go cheap or small. And when I
Right.
say, I mean, you don't have to, it's not going to cost you like a kidney, but it's not $3 a month.
I put that. I'm gonna have to run. I actually have something at 7:30, so I'm already late again. But this San Jose Santa Cruz meetup, he runs both of them, and it's going to be Thursday. It's this Thursday at 6 o'clock. His name's Eagle. Great resource, and there'll probably be 3 or 4 other people that do hosting too. And so if you're trying to like Lance is trying to say, well, where are your real needs and how much you want to pay? If you're going to get down in that lower range, you probably want those guys to get a little feedback because there's going to be headaches ahead, especially if I perceive what you're planning on doing, and it's going to be a little bigger website. It's not going to be like a little restaurant or a little, you start getting thousands of hits a day. That hosting is probably not going to get the job done.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, before you head off into the sunset, let me close out the meeting and thank everybody for showing up. It is 7:30. I would like to maybe ask a question to everybody here. Not that there's that many of us, but we talked earlier about. Andrea left because she thought it was an hour. I was going to ask Mike and the rest of you guys for an opinion. What do you think of the fact? I mean, we're doing a 90-minute monthly meetup. Is that too long?
Well,
Should
it
it
took
be an hour?
15 minutes. It took 15 minutes for everybody to kind of get on board. So it's
There's that.
It was only actually an hour and 15 minutes that we've done.
Well,
You
and
know,
yet sometimes, with Woo Wednesday, I've seen it, by the time, when there's no issues and things like that, I've seen the meeting close out in 40 minutes, but it's a solid, useful 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot. I could go for another 2 hours, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I always hang around and leave the meeting longer because for one thing, I don't want to have too long of a recording, because 90 minutes is a pretty long recording. We do have people who have lives to get back to. Some of us are able to hang around and chat, and I always welcome that. But what are your thoughts, Mike?
I think an hour and a half is fine because if you want to go over, right? If you we'll
Yeah.
do Wednesdays and it'll be 2 hours, even though it's only an hour. And
Right.
so if there's no content, I mean, so if you set it one, I would usually like to stay later, but I can't tonight. I gotta get rolling.
No.
But I think the time frame's fine. We started. I think one of the gentlemen we didn't get really started into the meetup portion for almost 45 minutes. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
yeah.
I mean, if you want my opinion, I'm going to be honest, but you got to say you got to want it though.
Well, how about, and then this is kind of an ancillary topic. The idea of, like Woo Wednesday doesn't do introductions. Our introductions superfluous, unnecessary? How do you guys feel about that?
They're fun,
Yeah,
but it was
they're
45 minutes to introduce 6 people.
Often it's rarely that the introduction goes too long. It's that an issue slips in, or a comment, or we go off on a bit of a tangent. And I'm a squirrel chaser by nature, so.
Hey,
And I mean,
But okay, let me go ahead and we'll close out on that. Thanks for showing up, you guys.
yeah,
Thanks,
I
guys.
have to bounce.
Nice
I'm
to meet you.
sorry. See,
all right.
yeah,
Thanks
good
for
luck,
having
Thanks
me.
for
everybody.
being here, folks.
Nice to meet you guys.
Recording.